Nothing like insomnia fueled by marital betrayal and too much Red Bull. I'm Jack Duvall, and at 3:17 a.m. on a Tuesday that would change everything, I discovered my wife's burner phone tucked inside her sports bra like some amateur spy movie prop. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My wife Elise thought she was clever. 7 years of marriage, and suddenly she's got late-night spin classes 3 times a week. The woman who used to complain about walking to the mailbox was now a fitness fanatic. Right. The phone buzzed against my palm as I held it, illuminating her perfectly organized closet. The message preview made my stomach drop. Can't wait to feel you again tomorrow night. Wear that blue thing I bought you. See, Colin fucking Brandt. My childhood friend. The guy who was best man at our wedding. I scrolled through weeks of messages, each one a knife twist. Explicit photos, hotel reservations, plans to tell Jack soon, which apparently meant after they figured out how to split our assets. My wife's as subtle as a chainsaw in a library. The worst part? A photo of Colin wearing my old Boston University sweatshirt, the one I'd given him freshman year, the one Elise always said looked ratty and begged me to throw away. Jack, what are you doing? I spun around. Elise stood in the doorway, her perfect blonde hair tousled from sleep, wearing the silk nightgown I'd bought her last Christmas. Before I knew, she was screwing my best friend in it. Just checking something, I said, sliding the phone behind my back. At 3 a.m., in my closet. She stepped closer, her green eyes narrowing. You're acting weird lately. Maybe you should see someone about your paranoia. There it was. The gaslighting. The subtle suggestion that I was losing my mind. Classic Elise. You're right, I said, pulling out the burner phone. I should definitely see someone, maybe a lawyer. Her face went white. Where did you get that? Your sports bra, creative hiding spot. Though I have to ask, when did Colin start wearing my old college clothes to bed? The color drained completely from her face. She'd never liked that sweatshirt, never paid attention to it, but she knew exactly which one I meant. Jack, I can explain. Save it. I pushed past her toward the bedroom door. We'll talk when I'm ready to listen to lies. You're overreacting. It's not what you think. I paused at the top of the stairs. Elise? You never liked that old thing anyway. 20 minutes later, I was sitting at O'Donnell's pub, even though it was closed. Old man O'Donnell lived above the bar and never minded when I needed a place to think. He'd known me since I was 12, back when my dad used to bring me here for Sunday dinners. Rough night? O'Donnell asked, pouring me a whiskey without being asked. Rough marriage. I knocked back the drink. How long have you known? About your wife and the Brandt boy. A couple months. Figured it wasn't my place. Everyone knows? This is Boston, son. Everyone knows everything. Question is what you're going to do about it. I stared into the empty glass. Colin Brandt. The guy who'd cried on my shoulder when his dad died, who'd borrowed money for his startup, who'd stood beside me when I married Elise and promised to always have my back. I'm going to destroy them, I said quietly. O'Donnell nodded and slid a USB drive across the bar. Security footage from the parking lot behind Murphy's restaurant. Last 3 weeks. No charge. How did you... My nephew owns the system. Heard you might need it. I pocketed the drive. Thanks. Jack, when you burn their world down, make sure you don't get caught in the flames. I walked home as the sun came up, my mind already working. I'm a data consultant. I solve problems by finding patterns, exploiting weaknesses, and building systems. Time to treat my marriage like a corrupted network that needed debugging. Elise was gone when I got back, probably running to Colin or her best friend Britt for damage control. She'd left coffee and a note. We need to talk tonight. I love you. E. I crumpled the note and headed to my basement office. Time to get to work. My basement office looked like a war room by Thursday morning. 3 monitors displayed financial records, social media profiles, and security footage. My friend Pete, an ex-cop turned private investigator, sat beside me reviewing Colin's business dealings. Your boy Colin's in deep shit, Pete said, pointing at the screen. His startup, TechFlow Solutions, is hemorrhaging money. They've got maybe 6 weeks before bankruptcy. Perfect. I pulled up Colin's LinkedIn profile. Still listed me as a reference. The arrogance was breathtaking. There's more. He's been cooking the books, inflating user numbers for investors, classic startup fraud. 1 phone call to the SEC, and he's done. Too easy. I want him to suffer first. My other ally, Sandoval, was a freelance IT specialist who owed me favors. He'd already hacked Colin's calendar and email. The amount of company time Colin spent planning dates with my wife was staggering. "They've got a meeting tonight," Sandoval reported. 7 p.m. at his office. She's telling people she's at yoga with Britt. Yoga, I laughed bitterly. She's flexible, I'll give her that. Pete leaned back in his chair. "What's the plan, Jack? Because if you're thinking about doing something stupid..." "Nothing illegal. I'm going to buy his company, fire him, and watch him crawl. But first, I want them to know they're being hunted." That evening, I followed Elise through the rain-slicked streets of downtown Boston. She dressed up, the blue dress Colin had mentioned in his texts, expensive heels that clicked against the wet pavement. She looked beautiful. She also looked like a stranger. I parked 3 spaces away from Colin's Tesla in the underground garage. The security cameras had convenient blind spots. I'd studied the footage O'Donnell gave me. While they were upstairs playing house, I removed the valve cap from his rear tire and let the air out slowly. Then I left a note under his windshield wiper. "Sleeping with fire." When they came down an hour later, Colin was furious. Elise looked scared. I watched from the shadows as Colin called LLA, ranting about vandalism and enemies. If only he knew his real enemy was just getting started. "This is harassment," Colin shouted into his phone. "Someone's targeting me." Elise touched his arm. "Maybe we should cool things down for a while." "No, I'm not letting some psycho control my life. Or ours. Our life." The casual possessiveness made my blood boil. But I stayed hidden, taking pictures with my phone. Evidence for later. The next morning, I made an anonymous call to TechFlow's primary investor, Meridian Ventures. I'd done consulting work for them 2 years ago and knew exactly which buttons to push. "This is regarding Colin Brandt and TechFlow Solutions," I said, disguising my voice. "You might want to audit their user engagement numbers and their expense reports, especially the entertainment budget." By noon, Meridian had frozen TechFlow's funding pending a financial audit. Colin's assistant called me, panicked, asking if our consulting firm could help with urgent data recovery. The irony was delicious. "Tell Mr. Brandt I'm unavailable," I told her, permanently. That afternoon, Elise came home early from her fake job at the wellness center, another lie I'd recently uncovered. She'd been fired 2 months ago for missing too many shifts, probably busy with Colin. "Someone broke into my locker at the gym," she announced, dropping her bag by the door. "That's terrible. What did they take?" "Nothing, but they destroyed my new workout clothes, cut them up with scissors, and there was a note." She handed me a piece of paper with shaky handwriting. "Trust is dead." I examined it carefully, making sure my expression showed the right amount of concern. "This is serious, Elise. Maybe we should call the police." "No!" The word came out too fast, too sharp. "I mean, it's probably just some jealous woman from the gym. You know how catty they get." "Right. Jealous." I folded the note. "Any idea why someone would target you specifically?" She looked away. "People are crazy these days." That evening, I met Pete at O'Donnell's for a strategy session. The pub was busy, filled with the usual crowd of construction workers and office drones drowning their daily frustrations. "Britt came by my office today," Pete reported. "Elise's yoga instructor friend. She was fishing for information about you, wanted to know if you'd hired a PI if you were planning to divorce Elise." "What did you tell her?" "That you were thinking about going to the newspapers." Really shook her up. "Good. Let them panic." O'Donnell appeared with 2 beers. "Heard Colin's company got audited today. Shame when businesses fail due to poor management." "Terrible shame," I agreed. "Of course, sometimes failing companies get bought out by competitors." "New management? Fresh start." I looked at him sharply. O'Donnell's nephew wasn't just a security system installer. He was also a business lawyer who specialized in acquisitions. "Hypothetically," I said, "what would it cost to buy a failing startup?" "Depends on their debts, but a company about to go bankrupt, pennies on the dollar." By the time I got home, Elise was asleep, or pretending to be. I sat in my office until dawn, building the financial structure that would let me purchase TechFlow Solutions through a shell corporation. By morning, I'd have the funding in place. Colin Brandt was about to learn what it felt like to lose everything in 30 seconds. Friday morning brought an invitation that made me smile for the first time in weeks. TechFlow Solutions was officially for sale, and my shell corporation, Boston Data Acquisitions, had been invited to bid. Colin had no idea who owned BDA. The paperwork listed a management company in Delaware, which listed another company in Nevada, which eventually traced back to me. Legal, untraceable, and absolutely devastating. I'd spent the night preparing my offer, enough to cover TechFlow's debts and give Colin a small payout, but structured so that all existing employees became my employees subject to new management policies, including a zero-tolerance policy for workplace misconduct. "This is beautiful," Pete said, reviewing the contracts. "You're not just buying his company, you're becoming his boss." "The best part? He'll have to train me on his own systems." Sandoval had been busy too. "I've got copies of every email Colin sent from his work computer, including the ones to your wife, and the expense reports for their hotel rooms charged to the company." "Perfect. That's embezzlement and adultery all wrapped up in one neat package." At noon, I walked into TechFlow's glass and steel offices wearing my best suit. Colin was there with his business partner, Marcus Webb, and their lawyer. He looked haggard, like he hadn't slept in days. "Jack?" Colin stood up, confused. "What are you doing here?" "Business." I sat down across from him and slid the purchase agreement across the table. Boston Data Acquisitions is prepared to offer $2.3 million for TechFlow Solutions, including all assets, personnel, and intellectual property. Colin's face went through several emotions: confusion, hope, then growing horror as he read the terms. "This is a hostile takeover," Marcus said. "You're essentially buying the company to fire Colin." "I'm buying a company to restructure management. What happens to underperforming employees is a separate matter." Colin finally found his voice. "You can't do this. This is personal." "This is business. Your company is failing. I'm offering to save it. The fact that you've been sleeping with my wife is just a happy coincidence." The room went silent. Colin's lawyer looked uncomfortable. Marcus stared at his business partner with disgust. "Is that true?" Marcus asked. Colin's silence was answer enough. "Sign the papers," I said calmly, "or declare bankruptcy next week. Your choice." While Colin's lawyer reviewed the contract, I stepped outside to take a call from Elise. "Jack, we need to talk. Tonight. I'm ready to tell you everything." "I already know everything. The question is what you're planning to do about it." "I want to fix this. I want to save our marriage." Interesting timing. Right when Colin's world is falling apart. "What do you mean?" "Ask your boyfriend if he still has a job by 5 p.m. I hung up and walked back inside. Colin had signed the papers. He looked like a man watching his own execution. "Welcome to the team," I told him. "I hope HR explained our zero-tolerance policy for sleeping with married employees." "You bastard," Colin whispered. "Mr. Brandt, you now report to me. I suggest you watch your language." That afternoon, I implemented my new management structure. Colin's corner office became a storage room. His parking space was reassigned, his company credit card was canceled, his access to financial systems was revoked. But I kept him on staff. Minimum wage, filing, and data entry. I wanted him to feel every day what he'd cost me. Marcus quit immediately, disgusted by Colin's behavior and unwilling to work under the new structure. Half the staff followed him. The other half, grateful to keep their jobs, welcomed the change in leadership. By 5 p.m., Colin was sitting in a cubicle, entering data like an intern. I walked by his desk and dropped a stack of papers. "These need to be filed by Monday, alphabetically." He looked up at me with pure hatred. "This isn't over." "You're right. It's just getting started." That evening, Elise was waiting when I got home. She'd cooked dinner, my favorite meal, perfectly prepared. She was wearing the red dress from our anniversary, the one that used to make me forget everything else. "I ended it," she said as I sat down. "With Colin. It's over." "When?" "This afternoon, after what you did to his company." "So you're leaving him because he's poor now?" She flinched. "I'm leaving him because I love you." "You're leaving him because he can't afford to take care of you anymore. There's a difference." "Jack, please. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But we can fix this." I took a bite of the dinner she'd prepared. It was perfect, like everything else about her. Beautiful, polished, and completely hollow. "Did you know he was embezzling from his company to pay for your hotels?" She went pale. "What? Company credit card. Charged your dates as business expenses. That's a federal crime, Elise." "I didn't know." "You knew. You just didn't care where the money came from." She started crying then, perfect tears that didn't smudge her makeup. "What do you want me to do? How can I make this right?" I pulled out my phone and set it to record. "Tell me everything, all of it. How long it's been going on, what you plan to do about our marriage, what Colin promised you." "Jack, everything, or I file for divorce tomorrow and make sure everyone knows why." She talked for an hour. The affair had started 6 months ago at a charity event. Colin had promised to leave his girlfriend and marry her once his company went public. They'd planned to wait until after the IPO to tell me, then offer me a settlement to avoid a messy divorce. She talked about the hotels, the lies, The fake job she'd lost. She talked about how exciting it was to sneak around, how alive it made her feel. She talked about Colin's promises of a better life, a richer life. She never once said she was sorry for hurting me. When she finished, I stopped the recording and stood up. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Out. Don't wait up." "Jack, please, tell me we can fix this." I looked at her sitting there in her perfect dress in our perfect house, surrounded by the perfect life I'd built for her. Some things can't be fixed, Elise. Some things just need to be thrown away. Saturday morning, I met with O'Donnell's nephew, Tommy, to finalize the next phase of my plan. Tommy was a sharp lawyer who specialized in real estate acquisitions, and he'd found something interesting about Elise's gym. "The building's for sale," Tommy explained over coffee. "Owner's retiring, wants to liquidate. The gym has a lease, but it's month to month. New owner could terminate at any time." "How much?" $2.8 million. But here's the kicker. The gym owes 3 months back rent. They're already in violation. I smiled. "Make an offer." While Tommy handled the real estate, I had Pete deliver a message to Britt, Elise's best friend and accomplice. Pete could be very persuasive when he needed to be. "Told her you had recordings of Elise talking about the affair," Pete reported, "and that Elise mentioned Britt knew about it from the beginning. Really freaked her out." "Good. I want them turning on each other." By afternoon, the dominoes were falling. Britt had called Elise, panicked about potential legal trouble for helping cover up the affair. Elise had called Colin, hysterical about my recordings. Colin had called his lawyer, who'd explained that adultery combined with embezzlement could result in serious criminal charges. I spent Sunday watching them scramble. Colin moved out of his apartment, couldn't afford the rent anymore. Elise's cousin Margot, a lawyer who'd always hated me, came by the house to assess the situation. Margot was everything I despised about Elise's family. Entitled, manipulative, and convinced that money could solve any problem. She'd helped Elise hide assets before, during a previous relationship. "Jack, we need to discuss terms," Margot announced, settling into my living room like she owned it. "Terms for what?" "The divorce. Elise is willing to be reasonable, but she has rights. Community property, spousal support. She has the right to find a good lawyer. You're not it. I've been practicing family law for 15 years. And I've been recording conversations for 1 week." I pulled out my phone. "Would you like to hear what your cousin really thinks about you, or what she told Colin about your little tax evasion scheme?" Margot's confidence cracked. "You're bluffing." I played 30 seconds of Elise's confession, the part where she mentioned Margot's creative accounting for her divorce clients. "That recording is inadmissible," Margot said, but her voice shook. "In court, maybe, but the State Bar Association might find it very interesting." She left without another word. Monday brought the final phase. I'd purchased the gym building over the weekend, and my property management company had served eviction notices to all tenants, including the fitness center where Elise worked out and socialized. I also leaked the story to a local business reporter who owed me a favor. Tech startup acquired following financial irregularities ran in the Tuesday business section, with quotes from unnamed sources about embezzlement and management misconduct. Colin's professional reputation was destroyed. No one in Boston's tight-knit tech community would hire him now, but I wasn't done. Tuesday evening, I arranged for Elise and Colin to meet at his old office, now my office, under the pretense of discussing their situation privately. Instead, they found me waiting with security footage, financial records, and a stack of legal documents. "Sit down," I told them. Colin looked like he'd aged 10 years in a week. Elise was still beautiful, but there was desperation in her eyes now. "I have a proposition," I continued. "Colin, you resign from my company and sign this non-disclosure agreement. In return, I don't press charges for embezzlement. And if I don't, federal prison, embezzling from a company with investor funding is a serious felony." He signed the papers with shaking hands. "Elise, you agree to an uncontested divorce. No spousal support, no community property claims. In return, I don't release the recordings of your confession." "Jack, please. Or I can play them at O'Donnell's pub during happy hour. Your choice." She signed too. "There's one more thing," I said. "I've purchased your gym building. The fitness center's lease is terminated. You'll need to find somewhere else to work out. And gossip, and plan affairs." Elise started crying then, real tears this time. "You're destroying my entire life." "No, I'm giving you the life you chose, the life you planned with Colin. You two deserve each other." Colin stood up, his face red with anger. "You think you've won. You think this makes you better than us. I think this makes us even. Even. You've destroyed my business, my reputation, my future. You destroyed my marriage, my trust, my friendship. 7 years of my life. I loved her. You loved the idea of taking something that wasn't yours. There's a difference. Colin lunged at me then, finally pushed past his breaking point. But I was ready. I'd been ready for weeks. I sidestepped his clumsy attack and caught him in a headlock, pinning him against the desk. "Stay down," I whispered in his ear. "Or next time you'll wish it was just your company I took." He went limp, defeated. I released him and straightened my tie. "Security will escort you both out. Don't come back." The final confrontation came Thursday night at O'Donnell's pub. I hadn't planned it that way, but sometimes the universe has a sense of dramatic timing. I was having a quiet drink with Pete, celebrating the completion of the divorce papers, when Elise walked in. She looked terrible, hollow-eyed, desperate, wearing jeans and a t-shirt instead of her usual designer clothes. The pub went quiet. Everyone knew the story by now. In a neighborhood like ours, scandal travels faster than gossip. "Jack," she said, approaching our table, "we need to talk. I think we've said everything. Please, 5 minutes?" Pete started to get up, but I waved him back down. "Stay, this won't take long." Elise sat across from me, her hands shaking as she reached for my beer. I pulled it away. "I'm pregnant," she said. The words hit me like a physical blow. Around us, the pub's conversations died completely. "Congratulations," I said finally. "When's Colin's baby due?" "It might be yours. Might be. The timing. It could be either of you." I laughed, a sound with no humor in it. "Even now you're lying. Even now you can't tell the truth." "Jack, if there's any chance, there's no chance. We haven't slept together in 2 months. You made sure of that, remember? All those headaches and early mornings?" Her face crumpled. "What am I supposed to do?" "Figure it out with Colin. You two are so good at making plans together." "Colin's gone. He left town yesterday, said he couldn't handle the pressure." I felt Pete tense beside me. This was news to both of us. "So he abandoned you? Just like that?" "He said it was temporary, until things cool down." "Things won't cool down, Elise. This is your life now. This is what you chose." She started crying again, and despite everything, I felt a flicker of the old sympathy. 7 years of marriage don't disappear overnight. But then I remembered the texts, the lies, the plans they'd made to destroy my life. "There's something else," she said through her tears. "Margot thinks she can get the recordings thrown out. She says we can still fight the divorce terms." The sympathy died instantly. "Is that what this is? The pregnancy announcement? The tears? Is this another manipulation?" "No, Jack, I swear." "You swear? Like you swore to love and honor me? Like you swore you were at spin class?" I stood up, pulling out my phone. The pub was dead silent now, everyone listening. "You want to fight the divorce? Fine, let's fight." I played the recording of her confession, loud enough for everyone to hear. Her voice filled the pub, describing the affair, the lies, the plans to leave me once Colin's company went public. When it finished, the silence was deafening. Elise looked around at the faces staring at her. Neighbors, friends, people she'd known for years. The judgment in their eyes was absolute. "You bastard," she whispered. "I'm the bastard. I'm not the one who cheated. I'm not the one who lied for 6 months. I'm not the one who planned to steal half of everything I'd worked for." She stood up, swaying slightly. "This isn't over." "Yes, it is." She walked toward the door, and I thought that was it. But then she turned back, her face twisted with rage. "You think you're so smart? You think you've won everything?" "I think I've survived everything. I hope you're happy, Jack. I hope destroying us was worth it." "Us? There was no us. There was me, working to build a life, and you, planning to steal it." She left then, and the pub slowly returned to normal. Pete ordered another round. "Think she'll keep fighting?" he asked. "No, she's got nothing left to fight with." "What about the baby?" I shrugged. Not my problem anymore. But it bothered me more than I wanted to admit. Despite everything, the possibility that Elise was carrying my child created complications I wasn't ready to face. Those complications resolved themselves Friday morning when Britt called me sobbing. "She lied," Britt said through her tears. "About the baby. She's not pregnant. She thought it would make you take her back." "How do you know?" "I drove her to buy the pregnancy test yesterday. She was going to fake it, show you a positive result. But I couldn't let her do it. I couldn't be part of any more lies." The relief was overwhelming. Whatever sympathy I'd felt for Elise disappeared completely. "Thank you for telling me." "Jack, I'm sorry." I'm sorry I helped her lie to you. I thought it was romantic, like a movie. I didn't realize how much it would hurt you. It's over now? Is it? Really? I looked out the window of my office at the city where I'd built my life, lost my marriage, and found my revenge. Yeah, it's really over. Saturday morning, I got a call from Tommy the lawyer. The divorce was final. The property transfers were complete. Colin had officially left town, forwarding address unknown. I owned TechFlow Solutions outright now, and it was actually profitable without Colin's mismanagement and embezzlement. I owned the building where Elise used to work out, which I'd converted to office space for my expanding consulting business. Most importantly, I owned my life again. Sunday evening, I was cleaning out the last of Elise's belongings when I found our wedding album. 7 years of photos documenting a love story that had turned into a lie. I should have been angry looking at those pictures. I should have felt betrayed all over again. Instead, I felt nothing. That's when I knew I'd won. Not because I'd destroyed them, though I had. Not because I'd gotten my revenge, though I had. I'd won because I was free. I carried the wedding album outside and dropped it in the trash. Then I went back inside, poured myself a drink, and started planning my new life. The phone rang once that evening. Elise's number. I let it go to voicemail. Jack, it's me. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not because I got caught, but because I hurt you. You deserved better than what I gave you. You deserved the truth. She paused, and I could hear traffic in the background. She was calling from somewhere else, somewhere far away. I'm leaving Boston, starting over somewhere new. Colin's not with me. I don't know where he went. I guess we both learned that cheaters don't make good partners. Another pause. I hope someday you can forgive me. Not for my sake, but for yours. Carrying hate around will poison you, and you're too good a man for that. The message ended. I deleted it without listening to it again. Monday morning, I went to work in my new office, the one that used to be Colin's. I had 3 new consulting contracts and a staff of 12. The company Colin had nearly destroyed was thriving under competent management. Pete stopped by around noon with the final reports on Colin and Elise. Colin's in Phoenix, working at a call center. Elise is in Seattle, waitressing. Neither one's coming back to Boston anytime soon. Good. You know, Jack, what you did to them, some people might say it was excessive. Some people might say cheating on your spouse and embezzling from your company was excessive too. Fair point. That afternoon, I got a call from O'Donnell. Thought you'd want to know. Sold the pub. Retiring to Florida next month. Congratulations. You've earned it. Thing is, the new owners are tearing it down. Building condos. End of an era. I felt a pang of sadness. O'Donnell's had been my refuge during the worst period of my life. Thanks for everything, Mr. O'Donnell. For the advice, the drinks, the USB drive, all of it. You did the work yourself, son. I just provided the tools. Still, I owe you. You don't owe me nothing. Just promise me something. When you find someone new, someone worth keeping, don't let what happened with Elise poison it. Not every woman is a liar, and not every friend is a betrayer. I'll remember that. Good man. Take care of yourself, Jack. That evening, I walked through my empty house, truly empty now, with all traces of Elise removed. It felt bigger somehow, full of possibilities instead of memories. I made myself dinner, opened a bottle of wine, and sat on the back deck watching the sunset. For the first time in months, I felt peaceful. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Marcus Webb. Heard you're looking for a business partner. Interested in discussing opportunities. I smiled and typed back, let's talk. Some endings are beginnings in disguise. 3 months later, I was having lunch with Sarah Mitchell, a marketing consultant I'd met through the new business. She was smart, funny, and refreshingly honest about everything from her divorce to her struggles with her teenage daughter. So what happened to your marriage? She asked over coffee. If you don't mind me asking. My wife had an affair with my best friend. I found out, and I made sure they both paid for it. Paid how? I told her the whole story, the discovery, the investigation, the systematic destruction of their lives. I expected her to be shocked, maybe even horrified. Instead, she nodded thoughtfully. Good for you, she said finally. Really? Really. They made their choices. You just made sure they lived with the consequences. Some people think I went too far. Some people have never been betrayed by the 2 people they trusted most. She reached across the table and touched my hand. The question is, are you done being angry about it? I considered that. Was I still angry? Or had the anger burned itself out during those weeks of planning and executing my revenge? Yeah, I said. I think I am. Good. Because holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Someone else told me something similar once. Smart person. Yeah, he was. 6 months after that lunch, Sarah and I were engaged. A year later, we were married in a small ceremony at Boston Harbor. Pete was my best man. O'Donnell flew up from Florida to attend. No one from my old life was there, but that was okay. Sometimes you have to burn down the old world to build a new one. The night before the wedding, Sarah asked me if I ever wondered what happened to Elise and Colin. Sometimes, I admitted. Any regrets? I thought about it carefully. Did I regret destroying their lives? Did I regret the systematic, methodical way I dismantled everything they'd built together? No, I said finally. They made their choices. I just made sure they lived with them. And now? Now I'm making different choices. Better ones. She smiled and kissed me. Good answer. The wedding was perfect. The marriage has been even better. Sometimes late at night, I think about that conversation with O'Donnell, about not letting the past poison the future. He was right. Elise and Colin taught me what betrayal looked like, but they also taught me what loyalty was worth. Sarah has never lied to me, not once, about anything. When she's angry, she tells me. When she's sad, she tells me. When she's attracted to someone else, which happens because we're both human, she tells me that too. Honesty, it turns out, is not that complicated. You just have to choose it every day. I chose revenge once, and it was satisfying in ways I didn't expect. But I choose love now, and it's better. Some stories end with the villain's defeat. Others end with the hero's victory. This one ends with both. Turns out some debts can't be forgiven. Trust, once broken, never fully heals. But life goes on, and sometimes it goes on better than before. Game over. I won.